I thanked my grandfather for the $200 check. He stopped carving the turkey mid-slice, set the knife down with unsettling calm, and said, "The gift I wired you was $500,000. I laughed, actually laughed, because an hour earlier my mother had pressed a thin envelope into my hand behind the kitchen door, her smile tight, her fingers cold. Inside was a check for $200, nothing more. So when my grandfather, now staring at me like he was waiting to see if I'd lie, said that number, it sounded absurd, unreal, like a typo spoken out loud. My name is Evan Cole. I'm 31. I track money people don't want found. I work as a senior cybersecurity analyst for Blackline Defense Group out of Salt Lake City. I've followed crypto laundering trails through shell wallets in Eastern Europe, assisted federal task forces with ransomware recovery, and testified in courtrooms where silence felt heavier than prison doors. I know what theft looks like when it's dressed up as something else. I just never expected to see it at my own family's Thanksgiving table. 3 days earlier, my sister Lauren had called. I was in my apartment, 3 monitors glowing, coffee gone cold, tracing a phishing network bouncing through offshore servers. Her voice was bright, too polished, the tone she used when she wanted something and hoped I wouldn't notice. "Hey, Ev," she said. She only shortened my name when she was nervous. "About Thanksgiving. Maybe you should skip it this year." I muted my keyboard. "Why?" She exhaled softly, practiced. "Grandpa's been really tired. Doctor says he shouldn't get too excited. You know how he is when you visit. Keeps you up late, pulls out those old blueprints, talks about the service." She laughed, a fraction too late. "We're keeping it quiet, just local family. I live in Utah. My family's in coastal New England, a very convenient distance." "Since when does he want quiet?" I asked. "Since he turned 87 and his cardiologist scared Mom," she said quickly. Too quickly. "Also, airfare's expensive. No reason to waste money." That landed wrong. Lauren had never worried about my finances. Not when she borrowed $3,500 for a startup that collapsed into a pyramid scheme. Not when she told me asking for repayment was gross and transactional. "I'll think about it," I said. "Great. Love you." The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at my screens, code still scrolling, and felt that familiar pressure behind my eyes. The same feeling I get when a scam email uses perfect grammar, but the metadata tells another story. Everything she said made sense. None of it felt clean. I opened my banking app. When I turned 18, my grandfather Henry Cole, retired engineer, decorated veteran, the only person in my family who ever listened without interrupting, had opened a joint account for me. Seeded it with $5,000. Emergency money, he'd said. A cushion. I touched it once in college. Paid it back. Never looked again. The balance read 2,847 hours. Reasonable. Normal. Still, my finger hovered. Then I tapped transaction history. August 14th, 2024. Incoming wire $500,000 memo. For Evan. Love, Grandpa. August 15th, 2024. Outgoing wire $499,800 destination. External account ending 7392. Memo, investment opportunity. I didn't blink. I couldn't. Someone had left just enough behind to avoid a zero balance alert. Just enough silence to keep me unaware. My hands started shaking long after my brain understood what I was looking at. $500,000 doesn't vanish by accident. And the worst part wasn't that it was gone. It was realizing someone at that table already knew exactly where it went. I set my coffee mug down with care, the way you do when your hands don't quite trust themselves anymore. One wrong movement, and it would have shattered. I called the bank. 3 transfers. Hold music that repeated just enough to feel intentional. Then a woman finally picked up. "Fraud prevention. This is Marianne." Her voice carried that dull exhaustion of someone who hears disasters for a living. "I'm seeing the wire," she said after a pause. "It was initiated using valid credentials and 2-factor authentication. Do you not recognize the transaction?" "I didn't make it." Silence. Keys clicking. The IP address traces to coastal Connecticut. Is that somewhere you access your accounts from regularly? My family lives there, I said. My jaw tightened. I haven't been there since summer. Another pause. Longer this time. And you're certain you didn't authorize anyone to act on your behalf? Completely. More typing. Then, Mr. Cole, we also have a document on file, a power of attorney, signed August 10th, granting full authorization. My stomach dropped. Authorization to whom? Karen Cole. That would be your mother? The room tilted. Not dramatically. Just enough to make standing feel unsafe. I never signed a power of attorney. The signature matches our records. Then the signature is forged. She didn't argue. That scared me more than if she had. I'm flagging the account, she said. You'll need to file a formal fraud report. I'm sending the link now. I also need to verify your identity. Security questions? Childhood streets? Old phone numbers? 20 minutes of proving I was myself while someone else had already worn my name like a glove. When the call ended, my coffee was cold. The phishing network I'd been tracking had vanished. New servers, new masks. Normally that would have bothered me. Today it barely registered. I opened the document the bank emailed. A clean PDF? Proper formatting? Legal language that looked comforting if you didn't read it too closely. My signature sat at the bottom. Familiar at first glance. The curve? The pressure? Wrong. I always add a tiny diagonal mark in the upper right corner of the signature box. A habit. Invisible unless you know it's there. This one didn't have it. I zoomed in. The ink pressure was flat. Uniform, artificial, a composite. Someone had stitched pieces together. Careful, not careful enough. I pulled the destination account from the wire. Only the last 4 digits showed 7392. For most people, that's a dead end. I wasn't most people. 15 minutes, a few proprietary databases, some creative API cross-referencing. Full account surfaced. Daniel Rothman. Account opened August 2nd. Regional bank branch outside New Haven. I searched the name. LinkedIn popped up immediately. Investment consultant. MBA, founder of Rothman Capital Group. His photo showed perfect teeth in a suit that cost more than my rent. In his recent activity, excited to announce my engagement to the incredible Lauren Cole. Here's to new beginnings. Posted August 20th, 6 days after my money disappeared. I clicked through to Lauren's social media, public, always had been. August 16th, turquoise water, white sand, much needed reset. Blessed to be here. August 18th, sunset, infinity pool, grateful. August 20th, her left hand, a diamond catching the light. He asked, I said yes. I zoomed in on the ring. Emerald cut, at least 3 carats. Platinum band, $30,000. Minimum. I didn't breathe until I finished taking screenshots. Built a folder, time-stamped everything. Started mapping the trail the same way I do for corporate breaches. August 14th, $500,000 wired in. August 15th, $499,800 wired out. August 16th, beach photos. Flight records came next. First-class tickets, purchased August 14th. Departing JFK. Passengers, Lauren Cole and Daniel Rothman. Destination, Indian Ocean Resort. Cost, $18,400. By the time I finished laying it all out, there was no doubt left. They hadn't just stolen from me. They'd celebrated with it. I found the ring receipt buried exactly where I expected it to be. Cartier, Manhattan flagship. Credit card records are laughably accessible if you know which doors not to knock on. Gray area. Technically, I didn't hesitate. Patterns don't lie. The story assembled itself whether I wanted it to or not. Lauren had convinced my grandfather to wire the money to me, probably spun some urgent, vague need, something he wouldn't question. He never did. Then the money was siphoned out within hours, rerouted into her fiancé's account, and burned on first-class flights, turquoise water, and a diamond heavy enough to bend trust out of shape. Still, one piece didn't fit: the power of attorney. Lauren was reckless, not surgical. She chased dopamine, not paper trails. Forging legal documents required patience. Rehearsal. Someone who knew how signatures behaved under scrutiny. I reopened the document, zoomed further. Slower this time. The composite was clean, but beneath it, tiny inconsistencies. Pen pressure that hesitated. Microscopic density shifts. Someone had practiced my signature, again and again. Traced it until muscle memory replaced guilt. I pulled out a birthday card my mother had sent me last year. I'd kept it because she'd remembered it all. Rare enough to feel meaningful. The downstroke on the capital G curved inward the same way. The cross on the T carried the same shallow angle. My mother had forged my name. I leaned back until the chair creaked. Outside my window, the city stretched under a pale November sky. Cars slid along the freeway. People moved through their afternoons unaware that my entire history had just rearranged itself. My phone buzzed. Lauren, so you're definitely not coming Thursday, right? Just want to be sure so Mom doesn't overbuy food. I stared at the screen long enough for my reflection to replace the words. Then I typed, "Actually, I changed my mind. I'll be there." The reply came too fast. Really? Are you sure? I thought work was insane right now. I never said that. Work can wait, I wrote. Family's important. 3 dots appeared. Vanished. Returned. Okay, great. See you Thursday. I booked the flight, packed my laptop, slid my portable projector into the case, the one I used for executive briefings. Printed everything: bank statements, wire confirmations, the forged document, screenshots, flight manifests, credit card receipts. 47 pages. I placed them into the leather portfolio my grandfather had given me at graduation. The irony pressed heavier than the paper. The next evening, I landed at JFK, rented a car, and drove north through cold rain that turned the windshield into static. I checked into a chain hotel 15 minutes from my parents' house and spent the night building a presentation. Title slide: A Family Investment Opportunity. Subtitle: How $500,000 became $200 12 minutes. I timed it. Strategic pauses. Silence where people expect reassurance. I'd done this before: boardrooms, courtrooms, hostile witnesses. This should have been easier. It wasn't. These were the people who'd taught me how to balance on a bike, who'd driven me to weekend clubs and half listened to my ideas. People who knew my tells, or thought they did. They hadn't just taken money. They'd taken my grandfather's trust, his quiet pride, his belief that helping me was safe. Thursday afternoon, I pulled up outside the house right on schedule. Cream-colored siding, black shutters, the maple tree I used to climb. Everything looked harmless, familiar. My mother opened the door before I knocked. "Evan, you made it." She hugged me. The embrace felt rehearsed, like a gesture she'd practiced in the mirror. "I'm so glad you came," she said. "I knew you would." I smiled back, adjusted my grip on the laptop bag, and stepped inside. "Wouldn't miss it," I said. My mother was wearing her good sweater, cashmere, pearl buttons, hair done professionally, the kind of effort she pretended not to notice in the mirror. Her smile held tension, like glass stretched too thin. "Lauren's in the kitchen," she said. "And Daniel's here too. I know you haven't met him yet. He's wonderful. You'll love him." Wonderful. The word landed and didn't move. I stepped inside. The house smelled exactly like it always had. Roasting turkey, butter, sugar. Comfort engineered to lower defenses. Henry sat in his usual chair by the fireplace, newspaper folded neatly in his lap, reading glasses slipping down his nose. When he saw me, his whole face changed. "There's my boy." I crossed the room and hugged him carefully. He felt smaller, lighter, bones more pronounced under the cardigan. His grip, though, still held. "How's Utah treating you?" he asked. "Good," I said. Really good. Interesting cases. Still catching the bad guys. He smiled. Always. Justice before everything. The words pressed into my ribs harder than they should have. Lauren appeared from the kitchen, Daniel drifting behind her like an accessory meant to be noticed. She'd lost weight, not the healthy kind, the disciplined kind. The engagement ring flashed as she moved, scattering light across the wall. "Ev," she said, hugging me. I felt her stiffen when I didn't return it with enthusiasm. "This is Daniel." He stepped forward, hand outstretched. Firm grip. Perfect pressure. The handshake of a man who'd practiced winning rooms. "Great to finally meet you," he said. "Lauren talks about you all the time." Everything about him was calibrated. The smile, the posture, the eye contact that never blinked first. "Congratulations," I said. "She's one in a million." He pulled her close and kissed the top of her head. She glowed. Either she was a better actor than I'd ever known, or she'd buried the theft so deeply she no longer recognized it as real. My father sat in the den, football muted, eyes on the screen. He nodded when he saw me. That was the extent of it. It always had been. Mom announced appetizers. We gathered around the dining table, the good china, candles lit, symmetry enforced. Henry at the head, my parents flanking him, Lauren and Daniel across from me. The conversation was aggressively normal. Daniel talked about a recent golf trip overseas. Lauren described her new role at a marketing firm. Mom discussed her book club. Dad drank faster than usual. I waited. Then Mom stood. I almost forgot. "Evan, your grandfather wanted me to give you something." She returned with an envelope. White, business-sized, my name written in her handwriting. "From Grandpa," she said quietly, pressing it into my hand. "Don't mention the amount. He's a little embarrassed money's tight this year." I opened it. A check. $200. Written by my mother, signed shakily by my grandfather. The room held its breath. I looked at Henry. He watched me with the same pride I'd carried my whole life. "Thank you," I said. "This is really generous." My mother exhaled. Lauren sipped her wine. Daniel checked his phone. Dinner moved to the living room. Turkey carved, plates passed, everything arranged like a painting meant to hide the cracks in the frame. Lauren launched into a story about a recent wellness retreat. Sunrise meditations, learning presence, appreciating the moment. Daniel nodded. She came back more centered, more herself. I wondered if he knew that clarity had cost $14,000. And if he did, whether he'd ever asked where it came from. He probably did. Daniel looked like the kind of man who reviewed receipts before he reviewed people. My mother caught my eye. "You should try something like that, Evan. All that screen time. You need to learn how to enjoy life. Disconnect once in a while." "I enjoy life just fine," I said. "Do you?" Her smile tightened. "You're always working, always serious. Life isn't just about chasing criminals behind a computer." The irony pressed against my teeth. My father poured more wine. Fourth glass, maybe fifth. He didn't look up. Then my grandfather stood and tapped his water glass with a fork. The sound cut cleanly through the room. "I'd like to make a toast." Chairs stilled. Plates froze mid-clink. "I'm an old man," he began. 87 years. I fought a war, built bridges that are still standing, raised a family." His voice softened. "But one of my greatest joys has been watching my grandchildren become who they were meant to be." He looked at Lauren first. "Lauren, you've always known what you wanted. You go after it. That determination will serve you well in marriage and in life." She smiled, moist-eyed. Perfect. Then he turned to me. "And Evan, you've always been my quiet one. Thoughtful, principled. You don't cut corners. You do things the right way, even when it's hard." My throat tightened. He didn't notice. He kept going. "That's why I wanted to help you take the next step. A home. Your own firm, if you want it. You've earned it. and I hope the gift I gave you makes that dream a little easier to reach." He raised his glass. "To Evan, may you build something lasting." Everyone followed suit. Crystal lifted. Candles flickered. I raised my glass too. "Thank you, Grandpa," I said. "Thank you so much for the $200. His smile faltered. The room went unnaturally still. "What $200? He asked. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the check, held it up. "This one. Mom gave it to me before dinner. From you. 200. Confusion crossed his face. Then something colder. "Karen," he said slowly. "What is he talking about?" My mother's fork slipped from her hand, clattering against porcelain. "Dad, you're confused," she said too quickly. "You told us things were tight this year." "I'm not confused," he said. "The gift I wired Evan was $500,000. Silence collapsed inward. Daniel's wine glass stopped halfway to his mouth. Lauren's face drained of color so fast it was startling. My father stared at his plate as if it might explain itself. "Dad!" My mother tried again, voice rising. "Your medication. The doctor said—" "I transferred $500,000 on August 14th, my grandfather cut in. "I have the confirmation email. I saved it." His hands shook as he pulled out his phone. My mother stood abruptly. "Let's talk about this privately. You're getting upset." "Show me the account," he said, ignoring her. "Right now." My laptop was already out. The screen glowed blue in the candlelight as I turned it toward him. August 14th, incoming wire, $500,000. August 15th, outgoing wire, $499,800. Current balance, $2,147. He stared. One hand went to his chest. For a split second, I thought he was going to collapse. "Where did it go?" he whispered. I looked at Lauren. She was crying now, silent tears streaking mascara. Daniel's hand hovered at her shoulder, but his eyes were already calculating exits. "That's what I'd like to know too," I said. "This is a family matter," my mother said sharply. "We'll discuss it later." "No," I said. I opened the folder on my desktop. "We're discussing it now." I placed the projector on the table, nudging aside mashed potatoes and stuffing, plugged it in. The wall behind my grandfather lit up. A family investment opportunity. A case study in wire fraud. My father's wine glass slipped from his fingers. Red spread across the white tablecloth like a wound. People stood, chairs scraped, voices overlapped. "We should go," my aunt muttered. "This isn't—" Doors opened, closed, engines started. When the noise finally settled, only 6 of us remained. My grandfather, my parents, my sister, her fiancé, and me. I advanced the slide. The bank records filled the wall. "August 14th, I said calmly. "My grandfather wires me $500,000. No one spoke. No one breathed. And I hadn't even reached the part where the money disappeared. "August 15th, I said, advancing the slide. "Someone with access to the joint account transfers $499,800 to an external account." The name filled the wall. Daniel Rothman. He went rigid, shoulders locked, jaw set. Next slide. Lauren's social media posts appeared, dates and timestamps glowing like accusations. August 16th, white sand, turquoise water, first-class tickets from JFK purchased August 14th. 2 seats, $18,400. Lauren made a sound that didn't quite become a word. Next, the ring. Zoomed in until the facets looked sharp enough to cut skin. Engagement announcement, August 20th. Purchase receipt, August 19th. Cartier Manhattan flagship. $32,750. Daniel pushed back his chair. "I don't have to sit here and listen to this." "Sit down," my grandfather said. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The weight of it pressed Daniel back into his seat. Next slide. The power of attorney. "This document was filed August 10th, I said, granting my mother control over the account." I circled the signature with the laser pointer. Forged. Pen pressure inconsistencies here. And here. Letter forms match my mother's handwriting, not mine. My mother was crying now, but the tears came hot. You don't understand what we've been through, she said. Your father's medical bills, covered by insurance, I said. Mortgage is current, I checked. She stood. I had every right. You stole from me. Next slide. An audio waveform filled the wall. This is a voicemail left August 28th, I said. From my mother to an attorney, obtained during the fraud investigation. I pressed play. Her voice filled the room, frantic and low. We already spent the first installment. If Evan finds out, he'll lose it. We need to paper this over. Maybe a loan agreement? The attorney's reply followed. Calm. Firm. This is fraud. I won't be involved. You need to tell him the truth. Silence returned heavier than before. My mother collapsed back into her chair. I was trying to help your sister. You have a good job. You don't need... That's not the point. The words came out colder than I expected. The point is, my grandfather gave me a gift, a life-changing one. And you took it before I even knew it existed. You forged documents, you lied to him, you lied to me, and then you handed me a $200 check like it was generosity. Lauren was sobbing now, openly. I'm sorry, I panicked. The wedding's in 6 months. Daniel said we needed to make the right impression. So you stole, I said. It wasn't like that. Then explain it. She couldn't. Daniel stood again, this time decisive. He pulled his phone from his pocket, eyes already elsewhere. Lose my number, he said to Lauren. All of it, this family, this mess. I'm done. The door slammed hard enough to rattle glass. Lauren screamed after him, not words, just sound. Then she turned on me, mascara streaked, face blotchy. You destroyed my life. You did that yourself. I hate you, she spat, grabbing her coat. I hate you so much. Her car roared down the driveway, tires shrieking. My father hadn't moved. He stared at the wine soaking into the tablecloth until it spread thin and dark. Then he stood. I'm going to bed, he said. Upstairs, a door closing, only 3 of us left. My mother shaking, my grandfather standing straighter than he had all evening. And me. I thought you'd never find out, she whispered. You thought wrong. My grandfather pulled out his phone. His hands were steady now, his face set into something hard and unfamiliar. My mother grabbed his arm. Dad, please, think about the family. He looked at her. I am. Think about Lauren's future, my mother pleaded. I am thinking about it, my grandfather said quietly. I'm thinking about how I called you before I made the transfer, how I told you I wanted to help Evan, asked you to make sure he knew it came from me, with love. He pulled his arm free, and you turned that trust into theft. Dad, he was already dialing. My mother dropped to her knees, not figuratively, actually collapsed. Hands clasped, forehead nearly touching the floor. Please, please don't do this. I'm your daughter. I made a mistake. This is Henry Cole, he said into the phone, voice steady. I'm at my residence in a residential neighborhood outside New Haven. I need to report a theft. The sound my mother made then wasn't crying. It was something breaking under pressure. The police arrived 18 minutes later. 2 officers, one older, one younger. Officer Daniel Mercer, 22 years on the force, and Officer Alicia Park, still new enough to ask careful questions. I handed them a folder I'd prepared, everything labeled, ordered, time-stamped. They sat at the dining table. The turkey had gone cold. Candles burned down to wax puddles. They reviewed it all without interruption. Mr. Cole, Officer Mercer said to my grandfather, do you want to press charges? Yes. You're certain the suspect is your daughter? I'm certain. He turned to me. And you? I thought about Lauren's scream, my mother sobbing, my father walking away without a word, holidays that would never look the same again. Then I thought about my grandfather's toast, the pride in his eyes, the years he'd spent saving so he could help without strings. Yes, I said, I want to pursue this. Officer Park nodded, writing quickly. We'll need formal statements tomorrow. Given the wire transfer and the amounts involved, this may escalate to federal charges. Federal, my mother whispered. Wire fraud crosses jurisdictions, Officer Mercer said. That makes it federal. She folded inward, like the air had been pulled out of her. They left close to 11. The house felt hollow. I packed my equipment. My grandfather walked me to the door. You okay? I asked. He smiled, tired but clear. Last night, he said, your mother told me she'd given you my check. Said you were grateful. Said the $200 would really help. I closed my eyes. And I believed her, he continued. Because she's my daughter. I raised her. I thought I knew her. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be. You did the right thing. He placed a hand on my shoulder, the same one that had taught me to tie my shoes, to shake hands properly, to stand straight. When you thanked me for $200 at dinner, he said softly, I almost let it go. Almost convinced myself I was confused, that my memory was failing. It was easier than believing this. He paused. Then I saw your face, and I knew you were giving me a choice, to see it, or to live the rest of my life as a fool. My throat burned. Tonight, he said, you proved you're worth more than anything I could ever wire you. I hugged him carefully. Fragile, 87, stronger than anyone I'd ever known. I love you, I said. I love you too. Now go. I drove back to the hotel through cold rain. At a red light, my phone buzzed. 17 missed calls from Lauren. 6 from my mother. 4 voicemails I didn't open. I blocked them all. The next morning, my grandfather and I filed formal reports at the local police department. The detective assigned, Luis Moreno, Financial Crimes, reviewed the case and nodded once. This is solid, he said. It'll take time, but it's real. Forged authority, wire fraud, possibly conspiracy. As we walked out, my grandfather squeezed my hand. They took my money, he said quietly. But you made sure they didn't take my dignity. And for the first time since Thanksgiving, I felt something settle into place. Not relief, resolution. The evidence you compiled is cleaner than what we usually get from professionals, the detective said, tapping the folder. I am a professional, I replied. Just not usually for my own family. He studied me. How does it feel? I didn't answer right away. Justice. That was the word that kept surfacing. Cold, heavy, uncomfortable but solid. The fallout didn't wait. By Monday morning, the story had leaked. Police blotter, overheard conversations, maybe one of the relatives who fled the house that night. A local headline ran in a regional paper out of southern Connecticut. Family Thanksgiving ends in felony charges. I saw it shared twice before I closed the app. Lauren lost her job Tuesday. The boutique marketing firm she worked for branded itself around ethical storytelling. She left me a voicemail, voice shredded, screaming about betrayal and lawsuits. I deleted it halfway through. My parents' church, an old Episcopal parish they'd attended for decades, asked them to step down from volunteer roles. Too much attention, they said. Translation didn't matter. Daniel quietly erased Lauren from his life. LinkedIn status changed. Photos vanished. His firm's website removed his bio for a week, then put it back like nothing had happened. The bank investigation uncovered something else. The attorney my mother had called, the one she thought she could bend, had reported the conversation to the state ethics hotline the same day. There was a trail, emails, notes, warnings she ignored, intent. In January, federal charges were filed. Karen Cole, wire fraud, forgery, conspiracy. Lauren Cole, conspiracy, accessory. Because the transfer crossed state lines and involved digital banking systems, Federal jurisdiction snapped shut like a trap. I spent 4 hours in a government building downtown, walking an assistant U.S. attorney through every step, every query, every timestamp, every screenshot. She leaned back when it was over. "This is one of the cleanest fraud cases I've seen," she said. "Most families hide it better, or the victim can't document it." "I do this for a living," I said. She gave a sad smile. "Just not against blood." She asked the same question as everyone else. "How does it feel?" Justice. The trial was scheduled for late summer. My mother's lawyer pushed for a deal that avoided prison. I refused to participate in anything that didn't include consequences. My grandfather backed me without hesitation. In the end, my mother pled guilty. Reduced charges, 18 months in federal prison, 3 years supervised release, full restitution, just under $500,000, plus penalties. Lauren pled as well, 12 months. Supervised release, ordered to return the engagement ring. Daniel had already sold it. She had to buy it back at auction with money she borrowed from an aunt, then watched it sold again under court order. Daniel himself was never charged. Prosecutors couldn't prove what he knew. He moved to another state 6 months later. My father filed for divorce in February, cited irreconcilable differences and criminal conduct. He kept the house. My mother left with nothing. I cut contact, blocked numbers, emails, every platform. My father tried twice to reach me through intermediaries. Both times I declined. I wasn't interested in apologies or closure. I wanted them to understand something simpler. Actions don't dissolve just because you regret them. Trust doesn't regenerate, and love doesn't obligate silence. My grandfather and I talk once a month now, sometimes over video, sometimes in person when I fly east. We don't talk about the past. We don't have to. He lost money. I made sure he didn't lose the truth. We talk now about his maps, about bridges he helped design, the way steel behaves under stress, about my cases, about my life. We don't circle the wreckage. In March, he opened a new account. No joint access, no intermediaries. Just his name and mine. $500,000 transferred cleanly. This time, it came with a letter. "Evan, this is the gift I always intended to give you. Use it to buy a home. Start something of your own. Build what matters. I know you'll do it the right way. I trusted your mother to do something honorable. That was my mistake. You showed me the truth when it hurt. That's integrity. Love, Grandpa. I bought a house. A 3-bedroom craftsman in a quiet Denver neighborhood. Park at the end of the block. Trees old enough to remember things. I set up a real office. No more folding tables, no more cables snaking across the floor. Sometimes I think about starting my own firm. Sometimes I don't. My work treats me well. I like what I do. 1 bedroom is for him when he visits. The 3rd stays empty. Last week a letter arrived. Plain envelope, no return address. 8 pages, handwritten. It started the way apologies always do. I know you'll probably throw this away. I didn't. I read every line. About regret, about desperation, about how she didn't understand what she was really stealing. When I finished, I fed it into the shredder, watched the paper dissolve into thin strips. Confetti without meaning. Some people believe forgiveness is noble. Maybe it is. I'm not interested in being noble. I'm interested in being whole. And being whole meant cutting away the people who tried to carve me up and sell the pieces. They took my money. They tried to take my grandfather's faith in me. They almost succeeded. Instead, I walked away with something they'll never touch. The truth. And a life built on it.